If you,
It says the webinar started, so.
oh, alrighty.
Looks good to me.
Y'all are seeing my screen here, okay?
Yep, and you can also see we're getting our participants are joining.
Okay, perfect. Well, then I guess no operator error today. That's great.
Nice job, team.
Technology works.
All right, and yep, popping in, and I left my water. Hang on.
Just talk amongst yourselves.
Coffee talk.
All right. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone, depending on where you are located. So I think this is where Ken starts telling dad jokes.
Bad dad jokes. Oh, look.
Dad jokes.
My cup is in the matrix.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Well, Tim, you should have some dad jokes by now, right? Now that Leo's
Working on it. I'm only 8 months in, so slowly developing.
rookie dad joke.
They'll come to you. It's a genetic condition that develops over time. Oh, Lordy. All right. How are we doing on time here? All right. We're about a minute past. Usually try to let it go at least a minute or two. So let's see here, boys and girls. Well, I think we're right at, we're just rolling. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get things started, guys. Looking forward to talking to everybody today. I've got some great, I think we got some great content put together for everybody. A little, depending on where you are in the country, maybe a lunch and learn, maybe a little late morning learning, brunch webinar. But really quickly, just kind of intros around the room here. My name is Ken Campbell. I'm a business development manager here at AdCellerant. Been here almost 4 years. My background was in the newspaper industry predominantly before I came here to preach the gospel of AdCellerant to publishers around the country. So really happy to be here. Digital's been a great source of revenue for publishers around the country, and really love my work making that introduction, helping them grow revenues. Over to you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Nice to meet everyone. Really happy for y'all to be here, and hopefully you can take some key pieces of knowledge away over the next hour. My name is Tim Blakemore. I am a director of sales here at AdCellerant. My foundation comes from the agency and ad tech world, very heavily rooted in client services. So I've been everywhere from hands-on keyboard programmatic activation, digital strategy, client strategy, and go-to-market strategy. And right now, I'm in charge of a sales team, and we help our publishers fill in that gap of selling digital, how to do that best, where it makes sense, which products to pick, and how that ties back to overall objectives for your advertisers. So, really looking forward to spending some more time with you all today.
Love it.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And I'm Jacqueline Jard. I'm a senior account executive here at AdCellerant, and my role, like similar to Tim's, is to help bridge those gaps for advertisers and coming up with effective marketing plans. As an account executive, we're a little bit more frontline. We work directly with our partners and their advertisers to make sure that we are helping them achieve their needs and ultimately have successful campaigns.
Love it. Well, we've assembled this team to really kind of give you guys a little bit of a mid-year check up, check in, like what's going on in the industry, what are we seeing, really from a few different perspectives, and it's kind of reflected in the agenda here. So, I'll cover a little bit of just kind of the state of the industry, what I'm hearing, as I talk to different media companies around the country, engaging with their sales teams, and then really our panel of experts here on product side of things are going to have some really great insights in terms of what they're seeing in their day-to-day interaction. So we'll cover insights from the field, seasonal planning, kind of our approach to things, talk about some products, and then really get into, just kind of wrap it up, key takeaways, and answer any questions. With that said, everybody, feel free to pepper us with questions. My colleagues here are going to do about 80% of the heavy lifting. And as a 30-year sales guy, nothing hurts my feelings more than someone else getting to talk for 80% of the time. But I'll put my jealousy aside and let my colleagues feed y'all some knowledge. In the meantime, what I'll do is I'll be watching the chat. So feel free to hit us with questions if they come to you, like I said, or you can save them to our Q&A section at the end. But like I said, I'll try to monitor as we go along. So as they say in the broadcast business, a little commercial here. So we got to pay the bills. So a little info on AdCellerant. AdCellerant's been around since 2013. Really kind of grown, been on a wild ride in terms of growth. Just really exploded in terms of our prominence nationally, the number of partnerships we've grown. Now I believe we're just about to crest 800 different media companies that we now power. Mind blowing to me, by the way, just to give you an idea what that growth looks like. I think when I came here, we had a little over 200, so almost quadrupled in the 4 years that I've been here. So it's really been tremendous time. At our core, again, this will be a very short commercial, but at our core, this is what AdCellerant's all about. We take this complex world to digital. Our goal is to make it simple, put your company and your sales teams in the hands of folks that are on the call here to understand how to sell these products down to Main Street in your market. And how do we do that? Well, we do it really with an end-to-end solution. So we've got, a software platform, really the best in class technology, training systems, customer service, support, access to experts like I'm on this webinar with today, and with the goal being drive revenue growth top to bottom. Really, again, what we provide, this is kind of the overall menu of all the digital products that we help our partners serve. At the end of the day, there's a lot in here, and Jack, I know you and Tim, that's part of your job, is to help navigate this very large Cheesecake Factory size menu of digital products that we've got. But that's the task. We want this fragmentation that has existed. And I'm speaking as a business development guy. A lot of times this is my pitch to broadcast publishers, agencies, whoever we're talking to. Hey, quit doing business with 7 different vendors. You can handle and execute all of that with us. So that's really what we kind of bring to the table. Kind of last part for me, just as what I've heard and what's going on in my conversations the last 6 months. Number one thing I keep hearing as I talk to companies, and maybe that's why hopefully a lot of you are on the call today, training. What people have realized in the media business is that digital is not something where you train up the team and whisk them off to sell, and then that's it. No, this business is ever changing. It's fast paced, new products, new approaches, new tactics, always being added. So training. It's got to be an ongoing, living, breathing thing like healthcare for your body. You got to have that training ongoing. So as I talk to companies, they say, well, tell me about your training, because everybody knows we're not the only company out there that has a software play, right? Not the only one that has an order management system, but I think where we really shine is on the training side, because we take it really seriously. Other thing I'm hearing as larger companies are coming to us, streamlining operations. It's one of the major hangups. People are trying to do more with less. They're trying to drive the profit margins, and they've realized that by leaning into our teams, they can actually do that, some of that streamlining. And then again, at the end of the day, I'll just say it this way. The magic in this company is my colleagues on the call here. We aren't just a software play. We are human beings. Advertising, selling advertising down to Main Street, wherever you are in the country, is still about an idea presented to another human who says yes, and then somebody puts the ad campaign together, whatever the platform is. But you can't do that today without human beings. We can take some assists from AI, which we'll talk about in this webinar, but at the end of the day, you've got to have the human support. So that's kind of my little update in terms of what I'm hearing out there in the marketplace. Okay, so let's kind of get into nuts and bolts. So insights from the field. Jackie, you want to dive in here, and I'll guide the slides, and if I get too slow, just slap me through the screen, tell me to flip a slide.
Fair enough. Thanks, Ken. So, as an account executive, we really are on the front line talking to partners as well as advertisers. We're hearing about what they want and they need. So I'm going to dive into kind of the top 3 things I hear more often than anything else. That would be we're going to talk about some real world observations from campaigns that I've actually ran with partners and clients. We're going to talk about some shifts in priorities amongst advertisers, as well as some success stories and some cautionary tales that we oftentimes hear as well. So first and foremost, some of you on this call may have heard this before, but we do see that campaigns that are running with 3 or more tactics really do perform the best. This just allows for us to get a wider reach. You can engage more people across multiple platforms with multiple touch points. It creates a much better brand presence, more trust, more reliability behind your brand. It also helps improve performance. We see that tactics will actually work together to boost performance, and we'll actually tap into that a little bit more here in a minute. We also see conversions boost, so again, just part of that performance piece, and we also see higher retention. So with you guys working with advertisers, that's important because you want your advertisers to be happy. You want them to keep working with you as a partner, and ultimately drive success for their business. So we do see higher retention, mainly because 3 or more tactics performs the best, but also they have a lot more eggs in your basket that they're working with you on.
Amen.
The next thing we see is the importance of a website. This is something that I've really honed in on the last year or so, where we see websites make or break a campaign. Your website or your client's website really is the first impression for many consumers when they're coming across your business. Us as people naturally will Google something or search for something online before we ever actually work with that business. And that website is going to help build that credibility and that trust for that brand. You can also make it work for you. You can make it very conversion focused, rather that's be collecting form fills or phone calls, driving an e-commerce sale, or also getting people to come into a physical location to shop. You can also have it help maximize your ROI. You can improve results and also maximize your ad spend with an efficient website. Mainly because a poor performing website is going to create more of a bounce rate, which means people are going to land on your site and then bounce if the website's not strong. However, if it's a good website, it's credible and people have a great user experience, they are much more likely to stay on that website, have a longer and more engaged session, and then ultimately convert or at least be very much considering it. So again, a website can make or break a campaign. I always say if a business's website needs help, do that first before you ever start anything else. That way we can be set up for success.
Yeah, the one thing I would add to that is, because I've been around this game a long time, almost 30 years. So I saw the kind of the beginning of the internet and where web development went. And it used to be a real cash cow, but obviously with AI and automation and competition, the amount of money that can be made by building and selling websites is not what it was 10 years ago. I saw a big trail off because of that. I think it was underserviced for a lot of years, and a lot of people's websites got really bad. And that feeds into SEO, right? As a product, you've got to have the website's got to be tuned up. Your SEO's got to be tight. So I know that's one of the reasons we, as a product, we added a whole new web development division to this company because we recognize like you've got to have that landing space and it's got to be right and tight. So that's also something we can help out with. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Another thing we're seeing is frequent campaign optimization is crucial. This ensures that your campaign budget is being directed towards the right creative, the right audiences, the right channels, or also just tweaking things on the back end from a campaign management perspective. It also helps promote cost savings or makes your dollar go a lot further. So if you're working with like a budget-based product like a Google cost per click, if you are more efficient with those optimizations, that cost per click can be lower and you can use more spend on more lead generation, ultimately. You can also adapt to any changes with your client's business, the industry, or even the platform itself. Google is one of those platforms, and I'm just using them as an example. There's many of them that will change their best practices. So it's important to be on top of those. One of the things that we always say when we're working with our partners is, what is the worst thing you can do to a campaign? And that is set it and forget it. If you just let your campaigns just run for months and months and months without doing any optimization, any working with your client on what they're changing within their business, it's not going to perform nearly as well as if it's very hands-on.
Jack, I'll give you a little personal anecdote here. So as you know, I was once an AdCellerant partner and you were my onboarding specialist. Um, one of the craziest but coolest things that happened to me early on when I moved my company's business, I was with a publishing and radio group. Um, I got an email mid-month, very small campaign, like $600 a month, and it was like this lady out on the lake that ran an upholstery business for boats, and she'd been running for a long time, and her campaign was like she was having some issues with performance. And an actual human being from AdCellerant emailed me and was like, "Hey, this campaign's blah, blah, blah. I think we should do X, Y, and Z." I'm like, boy, they're not lying. There really are human beings that are watching this thing. So yeah, I love that. Set it and forget it. Doesn't work. Been down that road. What you end up doing is you get to the end of a campaign and now you're apologizing to the customer and begging for the renewal instead of celebrating the success. Makes everybody's job easier. And at the end of the day, the reps and the managers on this call, they want revenue to be residual, sticky, and repeat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Something else that's really crucial for campaigns is make sure you're having regular reporting calls with your clients and advertisers. I hear so many times from advertisers when connecting like clients needs analysis meeting or reviewing things are like, wow, I'm running all this stuff, but I don't actually know what it's doing or how it's performing. Hey, I pay Joe Schmo, $3,000 a month, but I have no idea what it's actually doing. That is something I hear so frequently. And honestly, it's the easiest way to lose your business if your client does not know what's actually happening.
Yep.
We are seeing that advertisers are getting a lot more savvy and they're asking more questions. So it's important to help educate them on what's running, how is it going, and really just talk about it with them. You can identify in those meetings, like what's working, what's not. You can strategize with them right there. You can pivot where you need to. You can adapt with their business. Hey, we're rolling out this new product. Great, let's advertise for it. Or hey, we're going to pull this. Let's remove that completely. You can discuss results and how to improve them. Their feedback is probably more crucial than what we can see in a reporting dashboard. Get ahead of any concerns. So this is a great way where if they're like, hey, I feel like this is not working as good as it should. Okay, let's talk about it. Um, and then also, like I'd mentioned before, advertisers want to understand what's going on, but we also find the ones that are educated and have that partnership with the person that's running their advertising, they feel much better about what they're doing and they're much more likely to stay with you because you have that relationship and everyone's feeling good about how things are going.
Yep. Visibility and understanding definitely breed repeat campaigns, right?
Absolutely.
So there it is, right?
So, on the topic of being able to pivot, so what works for an advertiser today may not work for them tomorrow. We do see that there's a lot of shifts right now with advertisers and what they're focusing on and what their priorities are, as well as with what products are really driving success for different industries. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So I know we touched on this already, but we are seeing a huge shift towards multi-channel strategies. You don't really hear from advertisers anymore where they're like, yep, I've got my print guy. They do all my advertising. I got my radio guy. He does all of my advertising. Now I've got a print guy. I got a radio guy. I got a digital guy. And I also have, billboards or something else. They're usually working with multiple people across multiple types of media. So it's really important to do multiple media sources because nowadays we see so much noise in the space with advertising that you almost need to turn up your frequency across different platforms, across, enough times across one platform to really have an impact against your competition. So having that multi-channel strategy is really going to work much better than having one tactic and just hoping that it's going to do everything for you.
Amen.
We're also seeing that advertisers care a lot more about ROI and performance and being able to track it. Rather this be in, a form fill, a phone call, foot traffic into their store or online sales. They need to be able to see that ROI and track it. Sometimes just for their own personal gain, so they understand like how their business is doing. But also some folks are rolling this up to maybe a shareholder of some sort or another manager that needs to be able to see the value in their advertising. So it's important that they are able to see that and have that transparency ahead of time when they're making decisions.
Well,
And
wait a
one
second.
thing before we go to the, oh, go ahead, Ken.
No, I was gonna make the joke that wait, so it's not just all about clicks?
Yeah, we'll get to
I
that
was
too.
going to add on to that. I think this is the key part. Just coming from a media strategy and activation standpoint, knowing what your primary KPI is for your campaign is going to be crucial. And being able to tell that to your advertiser in layman's terms is even more important. So anything you can get in terms of lower funnel conversions, if that is the goal of your campaign, form fills, phone calls, foot traffic, utilize us, utilize our operations teams to help you place those pixels. That is going to be the golden nugget for your campaign, to actually look at it after it's done and say, this campaign performed or it didn't. Please use us as your resource to figure out what the best KPIs are. We're happy to figure that out, whether it's an awareness, consideration, or a conversion campaign.
Well, and we'll talk about it later as we get into a little bit more on the product side. But Tim, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of your customers engaging with uh, SEO as a component of that, right? Both
Yeah.
organic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, besides like the website, SEO from an organic and, a local perspective is a huge foundation in terms of anything before you do any type of paid advertising. I think we're going to go into that a little bit later, but those are definitely some crucial things.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and just to expand on that, advertisers have such a higher expectation for measurement and reporting. So, as I'd mentioned before, they have a much deeper knowledgeable baseline than they did even 5 years ago. And they want deeper insights. They also want access to reporting. So they want to be able to look at how their campaign's doing in real time and make decisions based off what they're seeing. We're also seeing budgets be under pressure too. So campaigns must show clear results. Like, hey, your marketing budget should be making you money after X amount of time. So they need to be able to see that in a form of an ROI, form fill, lead generation, online sales, whatever that metric is for them. Now, being on the front line, we also see firsthand what works and what doesn't. So let's talk a little bit about some successes and some conspiracy cautionary tales. So this first one here, this is actually a case study from a campaign that I am currently running. We had this particular advertiser was running a branding campaign, which was display, alongside a conversion tactic, which was paid search. And they decided, hey, we want to cut back a little bit on budget. Paid search is performing better than display, so we're going to pause our display campaign until further notice. So we did what they were asking, even after strongly advising that they didn't. And they paused their campaign, their display campaign in May. And then in June, we actually saw a significant drop in paid search results because that display campaign was not funneling people to that search query. So people didn't think, I'm going to search for this XYZ company. So they weren't searching as much for them because that display campaign was doing the branding work behind the scenes. Now, this particular screenshot here, that's the June report. So you can see all those little red watermarks where it's like, hey, your conversions are down. Your conversion rate is down. All these things are in the red because that display campaign was doing a lot more than what they can see from a click-through standpoint or even through a conversion standpoint on the display side.
Well, the conversation I often have with people, and I'm sure you do as well, and I know Tim would probably echo this. The display campaign. Look, at the end of the day, a solid click-through rate is a percentage of 1% of all impressions delivered, right? And that's good. What these ads are is top of the funnel, ads in front of eyeballs, digital billboards along their journey with their phones and computers all day long. Like you said, without that impression, putting that business in the mind of that consumer, you see the results here. What happens at the bottom of the funnel? You're leaving a component out, which is why, again, kind of where you started this whole conversation, right, Jack?
Yep.
Three tactics or more, man, that is such a winning combination. We see it over and over and over again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there really is a psychology behind the branding piece in marketing for sure. So to expand on that, this is a different campaign here, but this is, a good example of branding impressions still leave an impact even when consumers don't click. We are seeing now more than ever, consumers are less likely to click on, like a branding play like display or even social nowadays. And instead, they're just going to go search for that business in a different channel. So what do we do when we see something we like in an ad? We Google it. So that click might not actually happen, but that consumer is still landing on the client's website, which is still a win. That's still the goal, is to get them there. So this particular snapshot you see on the right-hand side, this is actually us tracking conversions from a display campaign. We track two different types. We have post-impression conversions and post-click conversions. So post-click conversions are exactly how they sound. A consumer clicks on the ad and then they complete one of these conversions that we had set ahead of time. Post impression conversions are they did not click on that ad, but they still landed on the website and completed one of the actions that we have here. So you can actually see your post impression conversions on this screenshot are much higher than your post click, because naturally people are not clicking as much, but they're still getting there. The tactic is still working. It's just not going through a click through first. It's going through another channel like a Google search, a Maps, anything like that.
And from a technology standpoint, we can track that as part of the campaign just by adding a tracking pixel to their website, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very valuable data and way beyond clicks. So
All right, so let's talk about some cautionary tales. Some of these are some of my favorite ones. The if you build it, they will come mentality around websites. I have this conversation probably daily with advertisers and partners of, hey, you got this big, beautiful $10,000 website built out. It looks fantastic. The web dev team did a great job, but the work doesn't stop there. You do have to now start doing different products and tactics to get people to that site. Now, a brand new website, search engines don't even know it exists yet. So you have to do things like search engine optimization to make sure that you have the keywords and the descriptions within that website for search engines to crawl. And also drive traffic through other channels like a display campaign or a social media campaign or a paid search where you can pay to be at the top to make sure you're driving traffic to that site, which is really more crucial in the beginning stages of that website than it is for a site that's been up for a little while. So it's you can't just build it. They won't just come. You have to build it and then also drive traffic or find ways to get people there.
yeah, I like to call SEO healthcare for websites. It is about the maintenance side of things. I know years ago, SEO firms used to come in, they would work on your SEO for like a month or two, and then, oh, you're good. Off into the internet. Doesn't work like that anymore. You've got to have your eye on that ball at all times.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, great job there, Jackie. All right, so Tim, let's kind of take this down to kind of another level. So
Mhm.
we're here sitting at mid-year. Man, I can't believe we're in July already. The year's flown by, but man, we have a lot of important stuff coming up in the back half of the year. So let's dig in.
Yeah, definitely. Believe it or not, the holidays are right around the corner. For all you sports fans, we actually have an NFL game in the month of July. It's the Hall of Fame game, so it's not really an actual football game, but those are key events, specifically around campaigns that could be a good play from a contextual content standpoint. So it is super important for early seasonal campaign planning. Now, I know sometimes our hands can be tied behind our backs based on our advertisers' needs, their wants, and what they have available for us. But the best you can do is to get ahead of any type of campaign planning. Budgeting time for research, being able to vet out partners in terms of what they can do, their capabilities, and how it can help your campaign. There's just some simple ideas and recommendations that we always recommend to our partners and our advertisers. One, that's being proactive, to find those new marketing partners and solutions. Like Ken said earlier, the landscape is constantly changing. We as a team are learning something new every day, either about search, social, SEO, TikTok, anything. It is constantly changing. That's the great thing about this media landscape. There's always new opportunities. Being able to be proactive on your planning just ensures that you can do the right job of selecting the right channels and tactics that can always tie back to your objective. Now, whether your objective is an awareness from a brand play perspective, more mid funnel from a consideration standpoint, or lower funnel from a conversion standpoint, these are all key objectives that we want to keep in mind as we go forth and set up a campaign for our advertisers. So please utilize us as your resource to help figure that out, and we can make sure that we get the right selection of tactics and channels that would be the best success for those campaigns. And really what it boils down to is just those easy benefits from early planning. It provides enough time for research, which we never do really have, but the more you can get in front of it, the better. You can help tailor your partner selection when you do have that early seasonal planning. And then you can also secure advanced inventory with partners and affordable pricing as well. When it comes down to, the quick part of planning and you're running up against the clock, sometimes things can get a little bit more costly. So anytime you can get ahead of that, it can actually be more affordable for the overall cost of your campaign. Now, some of the tools and frameworks that we use for seasonal planning, that you could also use through our partnership is, the power of UI. Now, it isn't just an order hub. It's also a full-on reporting platform. The first image you see here is kind of like a quick snapshot, what I like to call an executive read of how the campaign is performing. We have different trend lines. We have key media metrics, whether that's clicks, click-through rates, primary conversions, post-view conversions, last click conversions. Again, that can all be set up with a pixel strategy and implementation with our team. And then we can also just see how that is trending over time. It helps us analyze best performing channels, and then we can decide which tactics to keep or toss. Now, Jack said, never want to set it and forget it. We never do that either. So we want to make sure that we're constantly optimizing these campaigns for you. Also, that we like to use is Monday CRM board. This is kind of like a quick checklist in terms of actually following different timelines to help us cross things off the list in terms of what we're doing to make sure that campaigns are launching. We're launching them with confidence, but we're also trying to avoid as many mistakes as possible. So always feel free to collaborate with your AdCellerant team. We're always there to answer questions on behalf of your advertisers, but also to help really collaborate internally with our operations and our campaign managers to make sure that we're getting things done for you.
Yeah, Tim, and one thing I'll add to that real quick is before we roll on to this next section. Well, maybe I ought to go back to this slide. So one of the things that I loved as a publisher, so I'm speaking from my time as a partner. I love the customization of the way we present reporting, because a lot of times if you're talking to Bubba's Furniture on Main Street in Seneca, South Carolina, some of our reporting is very we show everything, right? It's very transparent, but some of that's like way over his head. So one of the things I used to love was our feature where I could go in and actually select the reporting elements that I wanted to talk to him about. Because a lot of times I think if a salesperson does it right on the street, you want to set expectations from a sales standpoint. Like what are you measuring? It's not about us providing all the reporting. We can, right? But it's about like, how are they going to measure? So if they're going to measure based on 4 or 5 different things, our reporting actually allows us to go in, select those 4 or 5, customize that report, send them to them with a live link. My reps used to absolutely freaking love that feature. So, so again, I think it's not just full transparency. It's about, storytelling. And I think our stuff really allows us to do that really, really well. Okay, Jack, you're up. Let's keep it rolling here.
Yeah. So in addition to all the things we've talked about with our partnership where we, work with your team, training, all of that. We also like to stay closely connected with our partners to really ensure a long-term successful relationship. I always tell everyone, don't think of me as a vendor, think of me as an extension of your team. I'm selling with your sellers. I'm meeting with management to make sure that we're all on the same page. Like, it really is an all hands on deck with these types of products. We also find that regular business reviews are really a good way to keep that collaboration and make sure we're aligning on goals and really drive meaningful outcomes together. So we do this through a number of things in our business reviews. Now, business reviews can either be annually, biannually, or quarterly, depending on the needs of our partnership and your business. But we'll review that partnership. We'll discuss overall highlights, wins, challenges, whatever that may be, and also how we can further improve our partnership and what we're currently doing. We'll discuss new goals or other priorities like product training, sales engagement, and market visits, whatever that is that makes sense for you and your team. We'll also identify opportunities and pain points. We'll say, hey, like, do we have some room to grow with selling maybe these tactics? Or do we need to get in front of some new sellers and help them push digital products? Or, pair it with your owned and operated, whether that's print, radio, TV, whatever that is. And then we collaborate. So we say, hey, here's our goals. Here's what we're going to do for the next term, whether that's 6 months, year, quarter. And we're going to work together to achieve those and then circle back and see where we're at and do like a pulse check later on.
Jack, this might be my favorite slide as the business development guy on this webinar, because when I brag on you guys, this is what I talk about. Selling digital is not an order management system. It's not a SaaS platform. It's the software is important, and we create a lot of efficiencies. It's amazing. It's a big part of what we do. But this right here, this is what keeps the sales going. It is that human interaction, and like you said, having you guys as an extension of the team. I know that's a huge value play. So keep it going.
Yeah. So some examples of like initiatives that we would have from a business review is, hey, I want to increase month over month revenue by 5%. Great. So our action item for that would be, let's increase proposals by 15% month over month. So that way we can increase that, dollar amount. Let's say your team has a 30% closing ratio. We would kind of go off whatever that would be for you and your team. Maybe you want to engage new sellers and help them drive more digital business. That's where we can join, let's say 5 sales calls per month with the new sellers. Or maybe you want to launch 10 more streaming TV campaigns or whatever that product might be. We can then conduct training, make sure the team's efficient on that streaming TV platform, and then also set goals for each seller to sell at least 2 streaming TV campaigns to get there. So we really do work with you guys as an extension of your team to help you achieve whatever it is that you're looking to achieve with your team.
Well, and to be able to make the decision in terms of which of these, management approaches is going to be most effective, you got to know the team, right? So that all feeds into the knowledge that you and Tim and our other account managers, the relationship that's developed, the knowledge, the insider information on the operations themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say all of my most successful partnerships, we have a very close relationship with the sellers, and they reach out to us, directly, ask for help, join client calls with them. We really are like an extra team member for them.
Yeah, it's hugely important. All right, Tim, let's dive into. We promised these guys a little product spotlight, so let's dive in.
Yeah, definitely.
What's hot? What's smoking? What's gonna crush?
Oh man, yeah, there's quite a bit
man.
actually. So, like I said earlier, in terms of seasonal planning and also just aligning with the right content, live sports, that is something that we now offer here at AdCellerant for all of our partners, making sure that you can run your commercials, your ad placements along live games. That we know that sports can reach definitely a wide range of audiences. So anytime you can sync that up with a lot of eyeballs, people paying attention to a specific event or game, that's always going to be a key win. We all know this logo. This is Netflix. This has always been a plan in works to make sure that we could have access to their premium CTV. There's different versions of plans that you have on Netflix. Basic with ads, things like that. But the fact that we can target different content and genres to make sure that your ads are running at the time of people watching shows that they really like, that is going to be key, specifically if you want to run video ads or online video ads part of your campaign. And then also Amazon Prime. There's people that are using Amazon for everything, search habits, buying anything. Be able to tap into this huge data warehouse, people based on shopping habits, lifestyle. There's so much available that we can tack onto our campaigns to make sure that we're reaching a qualified audience and when they're most receptive.
Well, we know. In fact, I was reading an article this morning, guys. 83% of adults now are getting all of their content not from, the hard cable, but streaming. So that's why adding these products are important. Y'all remember at the beginning of the webinar, I said that we've got that large Cheesecake Factory menu of products, but we keep adding to it. These products didn't exist a year ago, right? At least not for us on the platform. So we're always looking around the corner and trying to find the hottest thing for you guys.
We did have a number of these in beta test, just to make sure that we can work out all the kinks before we launch them to you guys. But yeah, these are all relatively new in the last couple months.
Love it.
Yeah. And one thing in the title of this slide is just, these are key tactics that can make sure that you're winning in uncertain times. These are definitely uncertain times. Anything from, the tariffs in terms of how it's affecting supplies and how that's affecting advertisers with their spending. Sometimes they can be a little bit more hesitant in terms of how much they're going to put towards marketing. We can make the argument that advertising and marketing is the first industry to actually get a glimpse of, is there any type of economic downturn or recession coming? Typically, that is the first thing to go or be held back. So these are the channels that will help you kind of win during those, tough and uncertain times. You can always just try to switch up from a creative standpoint of, instead of trying to push people to, strong call to actions or certain conversions, maybe it's more of an evergreen awareness play as you're pulling back your advertising spend. But to be able to do it with really key channels like live sports or premium CTV or Amazon Pro are definitely key wins. With live sports, you are able to place commercials during live sporting events on premium streaming platforms. And we're going to be able to access that through our different programmatic digital buying platforms. You have the ability to target premium on-demand content that really is going to resonate with large audience bases. And that can be key for a lot of small advertisers, small businesses as well. And then it also just allows you to capture the attention with multi-screen reach. We know that a customer's journey is never linear. Based on how I see ads and receive ads and resonate with ads, it's constantly all over the place. It's on my tablet, it's on my computer, it's on my phone. I'm listening to podcasts. The more you can be consistent with that messaging across different mediums, the better that is going to be for your campaign. Moving into premium CTV. CTV is a term that is tossed around constantly. Really, we know that there are cord nevers, cord cutters, and people that are just trying to stream on demand as much as possible. So let's take advantage of that and run ads that are along the same content that resonates with your audience, whether that's accessing premium CTV through Mountain, which is a supply exchange for us, and Netflix. On top of that, with the content play, you can layer in audience and genre targeting so that you can make sure that you're reaching a qualified audience and minimizing any type of impression waste. We want to make sure that your advertising dollars are running in the long run, and then making sure that we're maximizing as much as possible. And then lastly, Amazon. I think every advertiser wants to be on Amazon, whether it's a small business, medium-sized business, large business. The fact that you can be able to tap into that huge data warehouse from lifestyle segments to shopping behaviors, that's going to be key to making sure that you're reaching qualified audiences. So, these are great products and tactics that we can help you pitch and also incorporate into your media plan. So please talk to people like me, talk to people like Jack. If you need more information, ask your account manager, ask us. We're happy to provide all those answers.
I think what's really cool about this for me is that these types of platforms, just even a few years ago, were not accessible to Main Street USA. Corporations, the ad spend, the minimum buys, it was really big companies really only had access to these platforms and data, but that's really changing rapidly, and really kind of cool that we're sitting here on the forefront of it. So speaking of being on the forefront and the leading edge and like what's cool and what's hot and what's working, let's get into some of the tech stuff, because man, things are rapidly changing, and we're trying to leverage them in the most effective way possible. So talk about it a little bit, Tim.
Yeah, so this goes right in line with what Ken was saying earlier. This, software is very important. I think this is first and foremost one of the main reasons why we love UI and how it can be super beneficial and for you and your campaigns. And this is our new UI assistant chatbot. Now this is going to be a new AI feature with our platform. Think of this as like your go-to resource. You can always rely on us from an email perspective, a call, but anytime you need a really quick answer, go to UI, go to the chatbot, press the I think it's a plus button, and then you can actually start asking specific questions that are going to be answered within seconds. It's directly integrated with UI marketing and the AdCellerant Academy. So we're always preaching, take a look at the Academy, look for case studies, things like that. The answers that you're getting are all being powered from the Academy and internal resources we have here at AdCellerant. It's designed to deliver instant answers to your top questions. And you're actually talking to a real person at any time. So you'll be getting these AI responses, but it's also being monitored by key people from our operations and campaign managers. So no digging, no waiting, just quick, actionable answers. We know that your advertisers need answers quickly. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of waiting an hour or 2 hours to get in touch with your account manager to respond to an email, but it can be anything from a strategy question, streaming TV versus YouTube. What's better for branding? Or how do I build a proposal? Maybe you are fresh out of onboarding, but you don't quite remember how to actually ask for a proposal or build a proposal. Here are the 1 through 5 steps to actually get that done. And then also, maybe you're pitching OTT or CTV. Here are some of the things that you can focus on in terms of key differentiators, or why would it make sense for your campaign? Or industry questions. A lot of the questions we get are around benchmark or industry standards or industry best practices. Maybe you're trying to target an HVAC or home service company and trying to run an advertising campaign for them. What are the types of audiences that we can really tap into? Who are the people we're actually trying to reach? So yes, you can always rely on us, but if you need an answer within a couple seconds, this is your go-to resource.
I'll add one really, really cool thing to this, because we've been demoing this from the business development side here the last week. and absolutely freaking people out. So not only can you do what you guys are showing here, but let's say that HVAC one, maybe you ask, hey, what are the top three best digital tactics that seem to be working right now for HVAC companies? So the AI is going to give you the answer. Then what we did, and salespeople, managers that are on this webinar, think about how cool this is. Don't even have to go jump into Chat GPT or Gemini. You right here, you just stay in the platform, and then you ask the question, cool, can you put together an email that I can send to the owner of an HVAC company to talk about this? Bang. And absolutely generates a perfect email that's got the content in it. Like it is. So again, it's not just about it's so much more robust. Yeah, it does tap into everything and we've got in terms of our resources, but it also really functions as essentially a chat GPT inside of UI.marketing. So you can bounce from content training questions right into the marketing side and start to take that external. So really, 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 really slick stuff.
Real quick, I'm going to add to that too.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think one of my favorite responses is one time we asked what kind of targeting we should do for a client. I think it was a shoe store, and it actually gave us all of the different types of targeting segments that would be good for this shoe store. Made suggestions for like honing in on specific demographics too, depending on who their ideal market is. But it also suggested device ID. It was like, hey, but also you should probably do device ID, which would be a fantastic tactic for a shoe store.
The AI knows. The
It
AI
knows it all. Kind of creepy.
love it. Let's get into just kind of some takeaways. We've obviously covered a lot of ground here. We've started with our little introduction of us and AdCellerant as a company, and dove into everything from campaign strategy, product strategy, what's hot on the tech side of things. So just kind of some guideposts along the way. Jack, why don't you kind of start out and we'll kind of tic-tac-toe through this thing, and then we can jump to some Q&A here at the end.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. So I know as being an account executive on the front lines, the things we talked about is make sure you create a strong foundation for your advertisers before you start that marketing plan. Have that website built, make sure it's efficient, run some SEO or other tactics to help drive traffic to that site. That could be traditional media, it could be digital, whatever makes the most sense for the client. But also have that omni-channel approach. That three or more tactics is really crucial to the success of a campaign. It helps drive brand recognition, trust. It helps reach users wherever they are and the frequency that we need to reach them in. And we ultimately just see the most success with those campaigns. Ken, I'll let you chat a little bit more on some of the resources and other items here.
Tim, why don't you go first? Because I'm gonna jump from resources into kind of core results for our partners. But Tim, why don't you talk a little bit about the omni-channel piece? Because again, we've talked about it, but let's
Yeah.
kind of summarize that for us. Really the importance of what we see in terms of the top to bottom campaign performance and retention side of things.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that we don't want to be stuck in product silos. Ken mentioned that our products can be kind of offered up as this Cheesecake Factory menu. Now, that is for beneficial use for you all, so that you have as many options as possible in terms of taking advantage of what actually can be a sponsored platform or sponsored medium. But we don't want to be stuck in one channel at one time. Now, we do understand that budgets can be restrictive, and sometimes that's all we can afford. But anytime you can incorporate three or more tactics, or what I say channels, the best your campaign is going to perform, no matter the objective. So we're always going to preach omni-channel approach. It's going to help drive brand recognition and trust. If your creative messaging is consistent across all mediums, your message, your service, your product will resonate even more with your audience base. And you're reaching users no matter where they are in their consumer buying journey. Like I said, a customer's journey is not linear. It never will be. You're always going to try to pepper your qualified audience wherever they are, whenever they're most receptive, and when that message is going to resonate the most. So this is our key strategy for making sure that campaigns are going to be the most successful when you're running your advertising campaigns. Please utilize us in terms of what that strategy looks like. We will always give you the best recommendations, whether that's Jack, myself, or operations and campaign managers.
Yeah, I think the thing I would add to that, Tim, again, as a former publisher is like you
Mm-hmm.
said, sometimes budget restrictions can prevent somebody maybe from doing three or four different tactics. different products. But honestly, it's not as big a stretch as you would think. Even now,
Mm,
and I was in small markets, right? But you do a local SEO piece that can be a couple $100 a month.
hmm.
You do a targeted ad campaign that might be another $500 a month. You do a device ID campaign, maybe that's another $500 or $600 a month. I mean, I know not every business can afford a $1,200 to $1,500 a month investment in digital, but I'd say a ton of them can, right? So it's not heavy a lift as you would imagine, but it does require expertise, imagination, and explaining it to the customer. And the other thing I love about multiple products is it does keep people from getting honed in on that one. So if this one product isn't performing perfectly, well, now digital's not working. No, well, you got two
Mm,
or three or even four going, you're always going to be able to point to positive metrics. And what I always joke about digital that I've seen the last 20 years as this thing's really matured. The superpower of digital is the ability to pivot, change, adjust month to month. So we can tweak everything from audience to targeting, and I think that's really cool. And then look, for my part, again, what I think is so key to it really underlies everything that we're talking about here, which is we've got to have that ongoing training. You've got to have those white label resources to be able to have the storytelling conversations with the reporting. You've got to have really top-notch professional proposals that are coming out on the front end. Our platform obviously does that with some pretty slick PowerPoint stuff that we've really shined up here the last 6 months or so. And then again, you guys saw some of the AI tools. I think we're really using that in the right way, not replacing humans, not taking away our campaign managers, but using it to augment and supplement and improve what we do. And the results, again, look, you guys see it right on screen there. Our partners are seeing 30% plus growth year over year. New partners, oftentimes, by the way, are a lot higher than that. If they're brand new, a lot of times they might be starting out close to zero. They're seeing tremendous upside to new revenue. So all of these things together, everything that we've talked about today, again, I think it's all about driving new revenue for our media partners. So with that, let's see. I'm just checking our chat area here, see if we got any questions. I don't see any questions at this point, but if anybody wants to pepper one in, you can certainly go ahead. Any remaining thoughts from either of you guys before we wrap up? Oh, and by the way, if anybody is on here that is not currently a partner and you want to do a little 20-30 minute chat demo with either myself or somebody else in the business development department, you can scan that QR code. It'll take you right to our booking page. So, but guys, anything else to add before we wrap the party up?
Yeah, we actually had, I've been answering questions in the
Oh,
Q&A chat. We actually had one that I wanted to address without typing because it'd be kind of a lot. We had
please.
somebody ask, how are you adjusting SEO strategies to maintain organic traffic now that more people are answering through LLMs without clicking through? So that'd be like a Google Gemini, for an example, when you're doing a Google search. So those like quick answer type platforms do leverage content from websites to pull their information. So to make sure that you have a good content plan and good SEO strategy in place will likely mean that that information is going to be pulled from your website as opposed to your competition. So those are some efforts that our SEO team is doing. Something that we've seen from a campaign management standpoint, though, is we're actually finding that now that people are able to use these like quick answer type platforms to get information they need, that they're only clicking through if they are a legitimate inquiry for the business. So a good
Hmm.
example of this is I've got a window and door installer that I work with, and we saw their search volume for SEO go down, but the sessions were longer. They were more valuable in generating more leads. So we actually saw that conversion rate go up.
Oh,
So instead of somebody searching for how should I wash my new windows and they get a quick answer from Google Gemini, they don't have to click through. Where if somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for a window installation, they do actually go through and complete the form fill, call the company, whatnot. So we're actually finding that sessions are more valuable now that we're getting some of that noise
they're
away from
qualified
the
leads, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Qualified
and
leads for sure.
and one thing that has actually changed in the last few days is that now there is the AI mode section in Google, so it's actually its own separate segment and section of Google search results. So yes, you can definitely see AI overviews that are front and center And then right below it is the sponsored results. We've received that question and concern from a lot of our advertisers already in the last few weeks. But Google is changing every day, and actually within the last few days, AI mode has popped up where that's going to be kind of its own section for actually seeing AI results without interfering or interacting with sponsored results. So we're always trying to get as much information from our Google reps, our SEO team, our SEM team, to provide these POVs for you all. So if there's any other questions, we're happy to answer.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, good explanation, guys. I know that's coming up in conversation more and more, but again, at the end of the day, these these AI tools, they're kind of scanning the internet, they're grabbing this information. So I mean, your information still again's got to be right and tight to be seen one way or the other, however you're found. So all right, well, Jack, any other questions in there, or does that kind of wrap it up?
That was the last of the questions in the Q&A chat. Anyone else have a quick question they want to throw in there?
Okay, won't do that. All right, guys, listen, really enjoyed getting to speak to everybody today. Again, any further conversation, you can reach us there. And obviously, if you're a current partner, reach out to your AdCellerant folks. And man, let's just keep the year going. Back half of 25 is coming at us hard. Q4 will be here before we know it. So let's start laying those plans and generating revenue. Wrap up the year with some good profits on the books.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, guys,
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.